we try to find ways to surprise you. So for the very first time in the history of the PHLY Eagles podcast, we've got a Tic-Zach-Bo with a third person. The professor, Deniz Selman, back in studio, coming up next, right here. Welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast and those episode details presented by the good folks at TrueMark Financial. Join the chat, get in there, hop around, and hang out with us, the professor, Deniz Selman, Zach Berman, our Eagles insider, and me, Bo Wulf. We look forward to a nice conversation. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. I always love when Professor Selman's here. I actually begin my third semester or third summer teaching at Colorado State next week, so I am hoping to get some intelligence through osmosis here.
Now, Professor, this has been a week in which you've had a bit of a taste of our lives. This is your third Eagles podcast this week. How are you holding up?
I always say I don't know how you guys do it, and I don't know how you do it. I mean, it's a grind, you know, but you know how it is.
Zach, do we feel like he has betrayed us? How do we feel about his, his dalliances with other podcasts?
Oh,
he stepped outside our arrangement.
Look, anytime you can talk to
Is this an open podcast?
Anytime you can talk to Shield,
Wow.
you should. Shield's great to speak with. I thought his analogy was interesting. Was about like the deadbeat father and then the mother who has custody.
Yeah, I said you guys had custody.
Yeah, so
about that.
I'm thrilled to have him here.
I actually take no umbrage at all. I think it's nice. It's good for you to get out there. I do have one thing to hold your feet to the fire on, however. For the record, once and for all, I need you to decide: Bet365 or a different sports book. We need your stamp of approval.
I only mention one on each show. So.
Bet365 it is. You heard it there first.
Yeah.
Okay. The conceit of today's show. You have talked a lot about
I will say,
this
Shield did not ask me to watch 9 safeties worth of film before I came on. You know, so there are.
Yeah. So
no, I'm just saying. Yeah.
I didn't ask you to do that either.
We're providing that type of like if you really want to know what's going on. I was listening to talk radio and they were acting like the Eagles' schedule was like a result of them winning that like yesterday the NFL screwed them, or I'm sorry Wednesday.
I did not understand that.
And
at all.
I was like, listen to Professor Selman, who told you this is the hardest schedule they've had going into the schedule release.
What do you think the overlap is of people who listen to Deniz and people who listen to those shows?
Well,
good question.
But speaking of overlap, I think it's awesome when you guys are on Shield's show and when the people from that show are on here. Like as a kid, my favorite thing was like crossovers on TV shows. Yeah. You know, like when characters from one sitcom would appear on another, that kind of thing. So I think the more the better.
To me, it's just talking
especially
birds with
given
friends.
Just how many shows there are.
Shows.
Yeah, there are.
And that's why we've got the return of our old friend, the Tic-Zach-Bo. And we're doing a little bit differently today. Usually this is Zach setting things up for me, but we've combined here. We've got a Bo category, a Zach category, and then just sort of a general NFL schedule / league rules category. And on the other side, we've got predict, would you rather, convince me, the old classic categories that Zach has handed down. And so,
just so the audience knows, no one told me anything. So like I'm completely unprepared for this.
Absolutely,
that'll make it fun.
And so I'll tell you what, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to tell you where we're starting. And that is because I want to do a little bit of the news up top. And so we're going to do the schedule league rules predict. And Professor, I want you to tell me, predict what will happen at the next round of owners meetings with the new proposed rule changes.
I think
so there's the tush push, and then there's the playoff reseeding stuff.
Right. So the news today from Albert Breer was that I think I'm citing that correctly.
Yes.
That
Breer, I believe it's
as the French call him. Yes. I think he said that they're not changing the wording of the
very
tush push
interesting
proposal at all.
Yes.
They're keeping it the same.
Very interesting.
Now, let me remind everybody that at the last owners meeting, the original wording was widely thought to be too specific to the Eagles, and hence a kind of transparently sore loser proposal, to be honest. That seemed to be why it didn't have the votes. They specifically said publicly that they would change the wording to get it to pass, and are now not changing the wording. I, personally, obviously I don't have any sources, I read this to mean that they didn't get the votes even with different wording, and don't want to look like they failed two different ways on this, and that it's not going to pass. So I think that it is not going to pass. I think if they had changed the wording in a meaningful way, that would have meant that they changed it because they knew it would get the 24 votes required. There was reporting that there were only about 16 votes to ban it in a straw poll at the last owners meeting, so that would require 8 of the 16 teams that didn't vote for it to now vote for it.
Right.
One of those teams is the Eagles. There are like 3 or 4 others that seem to be strong no's before. I just don't think they have the votes. I think that's why they're not really going to try to ban it now.
What do you think, Zach?
It's interesting way of thinking about it. I tend to view it in kind of knowing the league that if they don't think they have the votes, they wouldn't even bring it to voting.
Right.
But perhaps they feel as if it needs to be voted upon. I don't have a good read on it.
Why wouldn't they change the word?
I left Palm Beach or West Palm Beach thinking that this was going to be changed in May. So the fact that the wording hasn't changed is a wrinkle that I did not expect.
Yeah, the one thing that was in that report was something that was discussed before. There was a ban against all pushing until 2004. The reason they got rid of it is because they were having trouble officiating it down the field because there'd be like a pile, and they didn't want to throw the flag on like minor things, and so they just got rid of the rule completely. I think changing the wording to involve down the field would have brought back that issue, and so that's why they're not changing it. But they said they were going to change it, and they're not. So they could have made it so that it was just around the line of scrimmage without being specific to the quarterback being lined up under center and all that, like basically describing the Eagles' play.
Right.
And they didn't, but they're not even doing that. They could have said like within a yard of the line of scrimmage, no pushing or something. That would have gotten rid of the down the field problem, and they're not even doing that. So it almost seems to me like they're giving up. But again, like Zach said, why wouldn't they just say
vote
yeah?
On it, right. You have to table it entirely.
Yeah. This could also be the Bo theory or not the Bo theory, but the Bo explanation back from March. If they just push it back to next year, they have a whole nother year to talk about like tush push, or instead of how they canceled or they delayed or postponed, however you want to frame it, like their accelerator. Make it all like tush push.
It's the only thing that anybody's talking about.
Now I hate bringing this up, but I have to ask you guys: do you think this has anything to do with the guy at the White House saying that he hopes they keep it?
No.
All right. I mean, we know the league, works a certain way. I'm just curious. I don't think it does either.
I was just curious what you thought. Yeah. No,
That's one thing that's changed since the last owners' meetings.
We know what side Bo's on.
I don't know that you do. But
no, you're on the side of keeping the tush push.
Maybe not anymore.
that was supposed to be the joke, Bo.
Okay.
Stopped clock. All right.
Yeah. Way to grind the show to a screeching halt. All right. What about the proposal about the potential reseeding? What do you make of this? As a man who loves these possibilities.
I mean, I think it was in March that I like texted you like frantically saying I want to be on the show to talk about basically this proposal. I love this proposal by the Detroit Lions to not give the 4 division winners the top 4 seeds automatically. Their initial proposal, for whatever reason, did not involve reseeding in the second round, which I didn't even notice at the time. They changed it so there now would be reseeding. There already is reseeding in the NFL. Right. So for some reason, like they would have been getting rid of it.
To check that box.
Yeah, they would have been getting rid of the reseeding for some reason and making it more like the NBA. Right. Yeah. But so the proposal now, as it's going to be reworded, is to give all division winners an automatic playoff spot, but not to give them anything in terms of seeding other than a automatic tiebreaker win. So if there's a division winner and a non-division winner with the same record, the division winner gets the higher seed, even if they lost head-to-head.
Which I think is how it should be.
So fair. At least it means something, right? Yeah. And then beyond that, you just seed them 1 through 7 based on record, using the existing tiebreaker rules for all the other, once if it's 2 division winners or 2 non-division winners, using the existing tie-breaking rules, and then reseeding in the second round as well. I talked at length in March about why this is a good idea. One of the reasons is because of the fact that you can get something like the Eagles having to play the Packers last year, Washington, a team that lost the Eagles division, got to play an easier team in Tampa Bay. The fact that Tampa Bay was seated ahead of Green Bay was because of this rule.
Right.
And it makes it punishes other teams. Like, you end up punishing teams that earn the right to play a worse team, and they're playing a team that has a low seed, even though their record isn't that bad. So that was one reason. And then the other reason, and this is, I think, the best thing that came out of Albert Breer's report about this today, was his report included specific examples of something I talked about in March, which is that teams rest their starters down the stretch because they're locked into a seed. So the Eagles were locked into the 2 seed and rested everybody week 18.
Right.
They would have been playing for the 2 seed under the current rules. The Vikings could have passed them for the 2 seed. Yeah. And so that's one example. You have Houston was locked into the 4 seed with like a month left. I mean, actually with 2 weeks left, and in practice, like with even more. And then the Rams, McVay doesn't seem to care about seeding,
right?
But he would have cared if he could have fallen all the way down to 7.
Yeah,
like he could have fallen all the way down to 7 when you knew it was either going to be the 3 or the 4. He rested everybody and was willing to fall down to 4. He meant he still got a home game and all that. If he could have gone all the way down to 7, I don't know if he would have done that. Because that would have meant playing a much better. It would have meant coming to Philly like in the wild card.
From the league's perspective, this is probably a change worth making more for the entertainment value in week 17 and 18 than it is even for the playoffs.
Exactly. And I think that just like the way that I'm guessing that story is written by Albert Breer is like he knows it's on the owner's radar that the week 17 and week 18 importance of games is being compromised by the current system. So even though they like rewarding the division winners and having the division mean something, I think the fact that their own games are being kind of like spoiled by this is going to possibly make them.
It does also. It feels a little bit.
I think it's going to pass.
You think it feels a little late in the game to put it into effect for this season?
I agree. So it might not pass this season. I think it's going to pass eventually,
and be like this will go into effect next year.
Maybe,
but does it change anything for the way a team operates? Yeah, like to me, this is a fine time to institute it. What's the difference between doing it and because it
dramatically changes the stakes for teams like Houston, for example, a team in a bad division, that's so used to being the 4 seed and getting that Saturday 4:30 home game. Yeah. It's like the annual start of the playoffs in Houston.
I'm just saying from a timing
for them, it's going to be a very different kind of season now. It's like they're going to have to actually earn a home game.
No, I'm just saying if you made a substantive roster change, you don't want to do it in May because teams have, it factors into the way teams build their roster. I don't think this changes the way a team would have built their team. So I have no issue with doing it in May.
I agree with you that it doesn't functionally change the way the team should go about things. It just feels like from a operating at a business standpoint, like the season has already started essentially, and now you're changing midway. It feels just a little happenstance. I don't know.
Yeah, it's also strange that like it was proposed in March and it didn't pass there. I did not realize it was widely reported that they would be voting on the tush push again. This was not reported.
Yeah,
right?
so the way this works is that in February at the Combine, there's the first meeting, the competition committee meets, and that's the first meeting of potential changes. The league meetings in March that's when everyone's together and owners and coaches have formal discussions about it. It's not atypical for something to then be pushed to May, which is the next point when the owners get together. So this would be the time to do it. Then I think the next big kind of meeting that owners have is in October. So after this, there's nothing that functionally changes the 2025 season.
Right.
I don't object to this because I still think there's incentive for winning the division, which is you get the automatic playoff seed, right? So
you get into the playoffs.
You get into the playoffs.
And you get the tiebreaker.
Exactly.
It's still enough, yeah.
But you don't get the home game. You don't get the seed.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think it will pass, Zach?
I haven't spoken to anyone about this specifically, but it certainly sounds the way Breer's reporting it that this is. I think the fact that it's going to vote means it's going to happen.
Okay, that would be great. I mean, this also requires 24 votes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would be great. I've been calling for this for years. I mean, I would be very pleasantly surprised if this happens.
Okay, so let's take as fact now that you have a direct line to Roger Goodell.
Okay.
Give him one other actionable piece of advice that he can take. Does it have to be about the schedule or
no?
Anything you want.
Man,
anything.
You're really putting me on the spot.
You're on the
I'm
elevator
gonna waste it on something stupid. This is like
this is it, Roger. We've got you for 65 more seconds.
Oh man.
And you are honor bound to do whatever it is Deniz tells you in a second.
Oh man. Introducing my crazy like IPL format, like double elimination for the top seeds playoffs, or do I waste it on something like just having the AFC games on Saturday and the NFC on Sunday in Week 18?
That is easy. That is easy for him to do. I thought you could also just tell him to retire.
Well, I don't know who would come after him. I mean, I'm not expecting.
Well, now that you have a direct line, you need to keep him around.
I see. Yeah. Retire and appoint, and then pick somebody who I think would do a good job. Yeah, no. I'm going to waste it on the AFC, Saturday, NFC? Sunday thing. Yeah, I mean, that just bothers me so much that they don't do that because it's so easy.
And that is if you are new. Week 18, just have all the one conference games on Saturday, all of the other conference games on Sunday. It takes away the possibility of things playing meaningless games, and also you set things up for the playoffs.
Yeah, and also, now that we're talking about this rule change of the division seeding thing, this might be a good time to stop having the last week be all division games. I feel like we'll get to it when we get to the Eagles schedule, but I think it limits them in ways that create weird scheduling at the end, like the Eagles playing Washington twice in the last 3 weeks, is partially because of the rule that they have to play a division game in the last week.
Right.
And I think that if the divisions aren't going to be the only thing that matters near the end, like you're going to have more meaningful games in Week 18 already with this rule change.
Right.
And so you don't necessarily need them to be division games.
I see.
And we've seen so many like Eagles-Dallas games wasted in the last decade or so, where one of the teams or both of the teams were playing meaningless games. Maybe it would be better to have that last game be not a division game. Or
you also have division championships, though, like de facto division championships because of that scheduling.
Yeah, it's high. It's high upside and it's like high ceiling, low floor.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to go in Week 18, but it can be debated. Yeah.
All right. Let's take our first break here, and then we'll get back to it. We've got 8 more categories to hit. Look forward to doing that and talking with you on the other side. This weekend is your chance to beat the Memorial Day rush at Ashley. You can get unlimited savings. Save $100 off every $1,000 you spend and get amazing savings on outdoor furniture. Plus, 60 months special financing, free local delivery, and with your qualifying purchase, you get a free gift. That's not all. Free local delivery, setup, and removal on all mattress purchases at Ashley, South Jersey, and Philadelphia. Financing with approved credit. Minimum purchase required. Some exclusions may apply. See store for details. Go on out there this weekend and head to Ashley.
Some huge NBA games coming up during the next, 24, 48 hours. You have Game 6 of the Boston-New York series tonight. You have that Game 7 coming up with OKC Denver soon. And if you want some action on those games, the place to go is Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. They live stream 780,000 events each year. They have early payout offers across the NBA and NHL, and they pioneer live in-game betting. So I mentioned those early payout offers. I mentioned the NBA playoffs. With the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up by 20 points with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Let's check the super chats. I think we have one before we keep on going here from Jack Royer, who says he lives in Madison. The PHLY crew is welcome to stay at his 2-bedroom for the Green Bay weekend. We can all squeeze. And that is a good reminder. Thank you for the invitation, Jack. That if you want to go to the Green Bay game with the PHLY crew and with Philly Sports Trips, go to allphly.com betfansweeps and enter yourself into the sweepstakes to get 2 tickets to the game. You get on the plane. Now, we're flying from Philadelphia. That is the deal. And you get to hang with Zach. What could be better than that? Watch the birds, yell at Mark Murphy.
Stay at Jack's place?
That's what it's all about.
Jack, I appreciate that offer. I'm going with Philly Sports Trips, so I will not be at the Royer residence, but I love Wisconsin. I would avoid the milkshakes the day of games, not the day before games, but
yeah, why not?
I would love to see that Wisconsin-Washington game, see Jed Fish coach on the sideline against Luke Fickell. That's a big-time coaching matchup right there.
Huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't
get Titans like that every day squaring off.
A big year for Luke Fickell.
Yeah.
As Jack Royer knows, he's going to have to turn it around. He hasn't had the effect at Wisconsin that they expected.
They thought it was going to be a force multiplier.
They did think he was going to be a force multiplier, and that has not happened.
He's no J.J. McCarthy.
Well, not yet, at least, but we'll see.
Okay. All right, Professor.
Bo.
Bo's category, Zach's category, schedule league rules. Would you rather? Convince me, predict. Where do you want to
go? I'll do Zach. Would you rather?
Zach, would you rather? Okay, so this one goes back to our depth chart show on Monday, and this is for you and Bo. If one of these players were to get an injury, let's say 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, so an injury for a sizable period of time, right?
Okay.
Not something that like alters their career, but a sizable period of time this year. Would you rather play without Saquon Barkley or play without A.J. Brown?
Sorry. I'll listen to the others. Yeah.
Play without Saquon Barkley or play without A.J. Brown. So you're considering the way the offense functions. You're considering the depth chart. Which one do you think the Eagles would survive their absence better with?
Maybe
this is a real question.
Maybe we should have cross-checked our questions ahead of time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd rather play without Saquon Barkley. It'd be nice to have them both, but I think A.J. Brown is significantly more valuable to the offense than Saquon Barkley is. And so, I think I've already said everything about running backs and how running backs are mostly a product of how good the rest of the offense is. Dallas Goedert is re-signed. The run game should be fine. Really playing the hits here, but yeah. That's right.
This one I don't think is particularly close.
I also feel personally, this week, I don't know, am I allowed to say?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Bo initially asked me to come in on Wednesday. I said, okay. I cleared out my busy schedule. That part's a joke. My schedule's not busy this week. And then I was told that Saquon Barkley is coming to the studio to film with the exciting whites. And
obviously the two cannot be in the same place at the same time.
Well, not only and I was uninvited to come in. Yeah, exactly. So I think the team could survive without Saquon.
How do you feel about
we saw the team be literally the best rushing offense in the NFL in 2022 with Miles Sanders. So yeah.
And now, do you feel Will Shipley is at the level of DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, or do you think there's enough of a drop off there that would be concerning?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I guess the question would be like, is he going to be at the level of Kenny Gainwell last year, right? And what do you guys think?
I think he's going to be better than
Kenny Gainwell was?
Yeah, but I do think the drop off from I think Jahan Dotson is a starting caliber receiver in the league.
Based on what?
Based on Washington as a rookie. I thought he showed some promise there. Now we're 3 years removed from that, and it did not look good last year. Although I will say when he was featured more, I thought Week 18 he played well against a bad Giants defense, but he played well. He looked like, there were other receivers on the Eagles who did not look like they belonged on the field or did not look like they were starting caliber players that day. Sure. Jahan Dotson did. I saw Jahan Dotson catch it.
You would hope so.
Yes.
What do you think the over-under would be if Saquon Barkley actually misses a game on Avery Williams' offensive snaps? I feel like Nick was so excited by that he has to that he would have to have some sort of package for him.
No, I think it'd be Shipley Dillon. But also I am curious if they would run the same offense if Barkley's not there, or if they return to what they were, when they were a much more pass heavy approach. Like I am curious how much of the way they played last year was because of how spectacular Saquon is and was. Or was and is.
I'm trying to look at to pull up some Jahan Dotson numbers, and I will get back.
Yeah, last year's not a good indication.
I'm pretty curious if
last year.
They're going to run the ball less this year anyway, just because, I mean, Saquon Barkley had so many touches over 21 games last year that and they extended him, right? So it's not like this is the last year, let's just use him for all he's worth. It's going to be a little bit, I think they'll be a little bit more economic in the way they use Saquon this year.
So in your stack rank of the importance of offensive players, how far down would Saquon be for you?
Yeah, we did this earlier.
I'm going to give you my would you rather. I'm going to give you my would you rather too.
Okay.
It's part of the same conversation.
Okay, yeah.
And that is Dallas. I talk about playing the hits. Dallas, Goedert, or Saquon Barkley for the full season. Who would you rather have?
Man, pretty big downgrades for both down the depth chart. Very, very comparable downgrades, in fact. Man, that's really hard for me. It's like a coin flip, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles showed you with their actions.
I mean, I know I'm in the minority on this one, but for me, it's a coin flip. I just think like we've seen the run game be awesome with other running backs, whereas with Dallas Goedert out, you're getting rid of one of your top 3 pass catchers, and you're getting rid of your best run game blocker. It's hurting the passing game and the running game. Losing Saquon would also hurt the passing game some as well. It's a coin flip. If you held a water gun to my head, I'd probably say I'd rather have Saquon, but it's very close.
Yeah, the Eagles essentially gave Saquon a $7 million a year raise, and they gave Goedert $4 million pay cut.
I should ask: do I get the other one healthy for sure the whole year?
Well, that's the thing is
because if
you
do
have to bake in Dallas.
Yeah, if I'm baking in that Dallas is going to get hurt anyway, then I'd definitely rather have Saquon. But if one is guaranteed to be healthy the whole time, it's very close. Probably still go Saquon, but it's very close. Closer for me than it is for most people.
Okay, so over the last 3 years, since Jahan Dotson entered the NFL, so he's been in the NFL for 3 years, there have been 63 wide receivers in the NFL who have run at least 1,000 routes. Okay, 63. Of those, Jahan Dotson in yards per route run ranks 62nd. Now, one spot ahead of Van Jefferson, one spot behind KJ Osborne.
Now, can you take out last year?
I can take out last year.
Yeah, I'm curious what he was if you take out last year. Just because I don't know this. I mean, we're doing this impromptu.
We talked about it at the time.
But
last year's a big part of that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Last year was such an outlier in terms of his production.
I mean, we can cherry pick it however you want. It's still not going to look good. The first 2 years of his career, just the first 2 years of his career, 65th of 72.
Okay, so not much better.
Yeah, it's still not good.
He's 4 spots behind Olamide Zaccheaus.
Fair enough.
In just those 2 years. So, like, I get the upside of what we saw in the Super Bowl, and this is a guy with first-round pedigree, but at no point in his career has he looked like a difference maker on offense.
Oh, I agree. No, he's not a difference maker, but I think he's a top 3 receiver in the league. So, like if a team starts 3 receivers, I think he deserves
he's a top
to be that.
96 receiver in the league.
That's a starting receiver.
I mean, that's an incredibly low bar.
Yeah,
and even that, I'm not so sure that he hits.
Just the way the third receiver is used in this offense, it's hard to tell. Like if the coaches are just okay with that, you know, like it's like they were okay with Quez Watkins just clearing out on those, running a go route to clear out, and they were okay with Jahan Dotson.
Still part of the same. Is it the offense? Is it Jalen? Like, does Jalen just want to funnel his targets to the top 3 guys?
Yeah. Interestingly, I mean, Jalen is famous for not throwing across the middle of the field, and yet Jahan Dotson lines up on the outside and never gets thrown to. I think it's when you guys were talking when it seemed like Dallas Goedert might be leaving about, well, maybe they're going to make it more of a 3 wide receiver offense rather than throwing to the tight end. I was just thinking that whole time, like the way this offense is shaped with the run game being first and with the RPOs and the tight end being in certain parts of the field, that is not likely. Like it's not likely for them to have 3 receivers who are actually all in the progression. You know what I mean? Like that just hasn't been the offense. And so because it's the passing game coordinators coming back as the OC, I don't expect Jahan Dotson to be like a bigger part of the offense this year either when AJ and Smitty are healthy.
So rank where he is among third receivers in the NFC East. And these are the options. Jalen Tolbert, Wendell. I'm sorry, it's Wendell Robinson and Noah Brown, and then Jahan Dotson.
Robinson's like the ultimate. Like he catches a lot of balls, but they're all for like 4 yards. Yeah. Like, is that better? I don't think that's better. Would you rather have that guy? I don't know.
I think the answer is that there is no difference between those guys, and you're talking about a player who you traded a 3rd-round pick for.
Yeah. And you got a 5th back, so a 4th round.
Okay, yeah, let's throw a parade for that. That's very exciting. I'm just
being factual.
There's no difference. There's no real difference between those guys. I don't think that the Eagles' offense will look any different next year. Really, like when it comes down to it, if Jahan Dotson is taking all the reps or if Johnny Wilson is taking all the reps.
Interesting. Okay.
To put the 5th in perspective to Howie, that's worth moving up from 32 to 31.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
okay. I hope I'm wrong about John Dotson. He's a nice guy. He's a fun player to watch. The catch in the Super Bowl was awesome. In 3 years he has not looked like a player who is worth any kind of investment.
Well, the Eagles didn't invest beyond this year for him. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option, which we did not expect. He's entering a contract year. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. I am a little bit distracted by and I didn't notice this the other day, the size of your computer, Deniz. This is
the other day. This has been all year.
Yeah, I always go with the big one because the old one was the same.
I know, but there's a real thickness here.
Yeah, the new MacBook Pros are thick. Yeah. They're heavy too. I don't love that, but I don't have a setup where I hook it up to a different screen, like when I'm at work, for example.
Okay.
So that's why I just always go with the big screen.
Yeah, I like a big one too. It's just that thing is.
It is, yeah. It's big. It's
making me feel small.
It's heavy. Yeah.
Why, out of curiosity, why the Pro instead of the Air?
Great that question.
Yeah, I debated the Air, especially because the Airs have gotten like a lot better and lighter. But
especially the M4s now. Yeah.
Yeah, I just find that I'd find myself buying a computer earlier if I got an Air. You know what I mean? Because over time they start to become too slow.
That is true.
And I just thought I'd buy myself a few extra years with the extra. I mean, it's extra cash now, but yeah.
Okay. Yep. That's a good answer.
Also, there's no Air that has the screen quite this size.
No, the biggest Air is 15 inches.
A little bit smaller.
It's 15 inches. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, here's Zach.
Now that we're done with the
technology all day long.
Yeah. Now that we're done with the Apple ad.
All right. Do you want to go? You've got Bo and Zach predict. You've got the schedule, league rules, would you rather, and you've got all 3 convince me.
I'll do. Well, wait. What was it? Sorry. Would you rather? Oh, okay. Bo, convince me.
Bo convinced me. Okay, convince me as someone who has watched as much of the defensive film as you have, of the 3 young players on defense who are jumping expected into bigger roles. You've got Moro Ojomo, Jalix Hunt, PHLY Ringo. Who do you have the most faith in?
Ooh, definitely not PHLY Ringo. I'd put him 3rd. We just haven't seen the coaches trust him enough, and I haven't seen. I mean, matters much less what I've seen, but I haven't seen him look consistently good in a way that I trust him either. I would go with. I think Moro Ojomo has the highest floor.
Yeah.
In that we've seen it already. Like he was getting significant snaps already last year. I think he can step into that Milton Williams role and get as many snaps as what Milton Williams was. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't by accident that Fangio was having him on the field on 3rd downs like early in the year. You know, like I know Milton Williams took over that later, but so I'd go Ojomo first because of the floor. Maybe Jalix Hunt has the higher ceiling though, just because of
I would agree with that.
Position and the splash that he can make, where he's coming from. I mean, he was a Cornell safety. How many years ago?
Must be smart.
Just crazy that he can go from that to getting sacks in the Super Bowl. So. He does seem like a smart guy as well, but yeah, I'll go.
I think I agree with that. I think there is more of a likelihood that Jalix Hunt becomes kind of a problem this year. You feel like he's not giving you enough, but I also feel like there's a better chance that 2 or 3 years from now, Jalix Hunt signs a Josh Sweat contract than there is that Moro Ojomo signs a Milton Williams contract.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm also going to ask first. Obvious passing down of the season, who are the 2 edge rushers on the field in week 1?
Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
You going with Bryce Huff?
No, I was just wondering about Jihad Campbell
Ojulari?
because you seem to think Jihad Campbell might have a rotation, have a role.
Aziz Ojulari potentially.
Or Aziz Ojulari?
Ojulari over Hunt.
Maybe Hunt's playing first and second down.
That's a good point. I think
that would be a bad sign for Hunt, right? In terms of how camp went.
I mean, not if he's starting and playing first and second down. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just not convinced. Jihad Campbell's going to be like totally ready week 1 to be everything to them.
There's also no
health-wise.
There's also no obvious second inside linebacker to play there if Jihad Campbell is like actually going to be moved to the end. So
I do have a shout out to give to some sickos, DFOPs, Carly and Chris on the birth of baby Finn.
Congratulations!
Shout out to them. Daniel Gallen giving the shout out. DFOP. So congratulations. Welcome to the world, baby Finn.
What do you think of with Finn? Is there a Finn you know?
Shark Fin.
Okay.
How about you?
In the West Wing, there was a baby named Finn. So I always think
is that like a Scandinavian name? What is Finn?
No, Finn's it's a newly popular name.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a friend who has a baby Finn.
Yeah, a good buddy from college. His nephew is named Finn. But I never asked what the reason is.
There you go. Okay. Bo, Zach, predict. Convince me, NFL and Zach, or would you rather NFL?
Okay, let's do the NFL. Would you rather?
Okay. Would you rather have the Eagles roster and coaching staff, but the Washington Commanders front office and ownership?
Oh, man.
Or the Eagles front office and ownership, but the Washington Commanders roster and coaches?
Good question.
I think that looking at it beyond like 2 years, maybe, I think it's easily, I'd rather have the Eagles ownership, right? Because that's what really makes the difference over the span of a long period. When you look at the roster and you look at the coaching staff, I mean, this ownership with this front office went from a completely different roster and different coaching staff in 2017 to 5 years later with completely different people getting back to the Super Bowl, 2 years after that winning the Super Bowl. So I'd rather have the ownership and the front office with the understanding that they would clean out the rest of the stuff and fix all the mistakes the way they did after Chip Kelly messed up the roster, for example.
And you would never have to root for Saquon again.
They might be able to like get Saquon from Washington if they're flipping yeah.
But there's no guarantee there's going to be a world in 2 years or so. So maybe you just lock in now.
That's the thing. That's the thing. If it's just for this season, I would rather have the roster and the coaching staff because it's already in their hands. But if the world is going to go beyond,
well, what bet are you going to make?
Yeah, how many years more do we have on the world?
That's up to you.
Oh, it's up to me. I see. Yeah. Well, right now it's not looking good, but yeah, I don't.
You feel good enough about the state of the world that you would take the front office?
If the world's going to last more than 5 years, I'd probably rather have the ownership though the owner is getting older, and this is a show for a different time, but I'm not sure how confident I am in the next generation of the Lurie family. So we'll see. We'll see how that looks.
Wow, that's a good.
I've never met the guy.
Okay,
I've seen him eating breakfast in a diner once. Beyond that, I've never interacted with him in any way. So it's not fair for me to say this.
I think his heart's in the right place. I think he's genuinely trying to like learn this and do this well. And I don't know how he's going to do, but I think there are examples of franchises where the succession plan is someone who just comes in and has never done it and is operating it essentially the way you would a fantasy football roster, right? And I do think that there is a well-conceived plan in place for him to learn the operation here. Now, I can't tell you that pretends to that it's going to work out, but I think that they have an idea of how they're going to try to do this. So we'll see.
Let's hope.
Do you have the same answer, Zach?
Well, I would probably, because I don't think the Washington roster is that bad. Like you have a franchise quarterback that you can build around, which is the hardest thing to find. And there were some other pieces there. So I would probably go with that just because the shelf life of an NFL roster tends to be like 2-3 years, right? And so I think the Eagles have the best roster in the NFL. But between contracts and injuries and age, that changes pretty quickly. So I would probably rather, in anything, like I think having the longest view in the room is an advantageous position.
Do you think that what do you think Howie would give up to trade Jalen Hurts for Jaden Daniels? Like, would he take, would he trade Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley for Jaden Daniels and whoever their running back is, and Brian Robinson?
Is he taking the cap hit with it?
No, like, just in general.
So. Well, then, yeah, I mean, I think he would, because you don't just get Jaden Daniels, but then that alleviates some of your cash concerns for the next, 2-3 years. And now you can, all these, young ascending defensive players, you sign them while Jaden Daniels is still on his rookie deal. So yeah,
let's take the contracts out of it. Do you think he would rather have Jaden Daniels than Jalen Hurts?
I actually don't know. I mean, Jaden Daniels was not a slam dunk prospect in this. He was awesome last year.
Yeah.
He was awesome in his last year at LSU. I think that he'd probably go with Jalen and Saquon. I could be wrong there. But you can't dismiss the contract, and that's a big part of Jaden Daniels. Like Washington, I like what Washington did this offseason in the sense that they're taking advantage of this window. They acquired high-priced players for this window that they're in with Jaden Daniels.
Okay. All right. Back with more on the other side after some more words from our sponsors, including a new one. And that new one, it's our friends at Mando. That's right. Mando is a whole body deodorant. We're not just talking pits, although it's great for your pits. We're talking butt cracks. We're talking belly buttons. We're talking thigh folds. We're talking balls, baby. Mando is good for it all. You can choose from a variety of scents at Mando, like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. Mando is clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after the shower, the average man's Grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average Grundle odor level, a 0 out of 10. What's better than that? If you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now, you can find them in Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country. But for the best deals, go to shopmando.com. That's MANDO.com. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code PHLY at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with the Grundle in between with Mando.
So I'm working in the studio today. There's a lot of people working from home. That's a good place to work. It's time to stop calling plays from the couch, though. With a TrueMark Financial HELOC Select, you can tap into your home's equity and finally upgrade that home office. You can build out a better space, or you can just finish the projects you've been putting off. With a HELOC Select, you get a great low rate. You have flexible access. You pull funds at once or only when you need them. You have lower rates than most personal loans. And there's no penalties if you pay it off early. That, all 4 of those bullet points are terrific. Terrific reason why you should call up TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Or how about this? Just go to TrueMark.com/PHLY to apply. Turn your work from home game into a winning play. Terms and conditions apply. Visit TrueMark.com/HELOC for details. Federally insured by the NCUA. Equal Opportunity Lender. NMLS 404938. I've won a bit of a mea culpa here. I did feel bad about that Parks Casino ad yesterday as I was watching the show.
First of all, why bring it up?
Oh my God.
No, because this.
I was dying.
I'm bringing it up for this reason, okay? I'm in bed last night, like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I wasn't up because of that. I was up because of something else. But I couldn't fall back to sleep. And I remembered Jamie Lynch told me you should watch the Conan O'Brien special, or the Conan O'Brien. He won the Mark Twain Award at the Kennedy Center. And so I turn it on, and it's hilarious. Like, John Mulaney kills me. He's awesome. All right. And it gets to, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Kumail Nanjiani. Yeah. And he was terrific on it. He did like a TED Talks type thing for, it was and I bring this up because I didn't mention him yesterday, but he is at Parks Casino on June 20th. So I should have mentioned him, but that was a great special last night. And he had me captivated. Like, I woke Emily up because I was laughing so hard. It was really
happy about that.
She was not happy about that. No. So anyways,
but here's the thing about that, Zach. This is why you should not feel bad about that, because all the people loved it. Yeah.
It's
you're
like
building the community. That's the fun.
Not only that, but if I was a Parks Casino rep, I would say people are going to be talking about the Parks Casino ad read. That's good advertising.
How else are they going to remember
If you read it like a robot, people would just fast forward through it. I know people who say that, like, this is one of the only podcasts where they don't skip through the ads because the ad reads are actually interesting. So you should not feel bad about anything that becomes a story. You know,
I appreciate that. I try to maintain my professionalism. That's the only thing.
It's for the betterment.
So, okay.
Professor. You've got predict for Bo and Zach and convince me for NFL and Zach.
Okay, I'll do convince me NFL.
Okay. This can be the repository for any leftover schedule thoughts you have, but the convince me here is convince me why the Bills game in Week 17 might not matter at all.
Yeah, so this is something that comes up whenever I'm doing my playoff tiebreakers with a couple of weeks left in the season. There are certain games that are more likely to matter because of the fact that they matter in tiebreakers. So obviously, if you're racing against a different team for a certain seed, the head-to-head games matter the most. If you're in a division race, the division games matter second most. The thing that matters next after that, if you're in a division race, is common opponents. So the 3 uncommon games that teams have are the 3 games that are least likely to matter, because winning one of those games might mean you get an extra win, but you then lose the tiebreaker because you won that one instead of winning a common game, right? The next thing is conference games. That Buffalo game in Week 17, on paper, theoretically, is the least important game on the Eagles' schedule because it is an AFC game, which means it will not be a part of the NFC tiebreaker against non-division teams, and it won't be a part of the NFC tiebreaker against division teams. Mm-hmm. It's also an uncommon game because it's that 17th game. None of the other teams in the NFC East are playing Buffalo. And so it's also not important in the division race. So it is the one game of the year that if you were to say, like, you know, forget like what it would mean in terms of prestige and national, you know, all that. If you were to say right now, Eagles have to lose a game, which one should it be? That game is the one that mathematically would hurt them the least to lose.
Okay.
Putting that in Week 17 means there's a scenario where with 2 weeks left, it could already be mathematically determined that the Week 18 game against Washington is for the division, regardless of what happens in that Buffalo game.
Right.
So they could actually go into the game knowing that they can rest players. It's actually very similar to what happened to Detroit last year when they played San Francisco and then they had Minnesota after.
Right.
That San Francisco game was already known to not mean anything because if they had won it, they were going to lose the tiebreaker, and if they lost it, they were going to win the tiebreaker, and so it just didn't matter. Something similar, even more like that was an NFC game, and it was still that way. It's even more likely to be that way with Buffalo, and it's not just Buffalo. It's also, if you look at the Eagles' schedule, the games against the Chargers and the Raiders are also weeks 14 and 15. So having all of those AFC games late is going to set up a scenario where there's going to be like going to be a huge imbalance in which games matter and which ones don't to the Eagles, because those AFC games, they matter for the within division tiebreaker for common opponents, but they don't matter if you're racing against a different team for the 1 seed, for example, right? And so we could have a scenario where all my playoff scenarios are like, if the Eagles lose, it's better to lose these games, and you're going to have a lot of those games late. So
okay, what other leftover thoughts do you have? Anything else?
Well, we talked about how the Washington games are, week 16 and 18. I think you guys already talked about all the reasons that's
it's so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's just taking an obviously high profile matchup and then taking a massive risk that it's still going to be high profile by week 16, where the teams are going to be healthy, playing for something, both good. Like, I mean, it's just such a big risk.
From an entertainment standpoint, it's dumb. It's a bad bet to make.
Yeah.
It's also from a fairness standpoint, it's so stupid to stack these games in 2 and 3 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I like your point that the division game should be split
every
up.
division game, all division games in the NFL, there should be one game in the first half of the season and one game in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I look back as far as 2008, which is when they started putting only division games in the last week.
Yeah.
And this will be the 4th and 5th time that the Eagles have the same opponent twice in a 3-game stretch, because it's the Giants and Washington this year. The other times, 2014, they played Dallas weeks 13 and 15. That was the late Chip Kelly collapse. So they won the first one and then they lost the second. 2021 with Washington was weeks 15 and 17. The last 4 were all in division that year. 2023, Giants were 16 and 18. And then it's going to be twice this year. I think that Washington, by the way, finishes with 4 straight division games this year. It's not just the 2 against the Eagles. They also play Dallas and the Giants.
It's so weird when the Eagles are playing 3 out of 5 in the AFC in the final 5 games.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's just been more of this recently where they have a team not play one of the teams in their division until very late, or just finish with a bunch of division games. Yeah, I agree that there's no reason to make it as asymmetric as they have.
It should be a consideration, like just as much as the Billy Joel concert's a consideration, right? Like you should be mindful of this.
And it seems like the Billy Joel concert,
Billy J under the bus.
The Billy Joel concert is something the league can't control, whereas this, I feel like they're creating a constraint on themselves by having it this way.
What's your favorite Billy Joel song, Zach?
I mean, it's a cliche to say Piano Man. No, I would go with the one. I would go with We Didn't Start the Fire. That's a fun one. Yeah,
it's a fun one.
Some historical references. I always like history and it's it's good lyrics in that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Historical.
Talks about Joe DiMaggio.
Historical record. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Beautiful. All right, Zach. I mean, Professor, you've got predict with Bo and Zach and convince me from Zach.
All right, I have 2 Zach and 1 Bo left. Is that right? Okay, I'll do predict Zach.
Predict. Okay, so this actually goes back to the rule question one. Predict, will the Eagles' short yardage percentage be better or worse next year than it was this past season? And
define short yardage.
So 1 yard. So 1 yard to go for the goal line and for a first down.
1 yard to go. I think it'll be better. It was actually a little bit worse last year.
It was 69%
than the year
last year.
Right.
Yeah.
69%, and that includes the times where they didn't get it and then they got it on the next one. Yeah. I think it'll be better. I think that they know that there were certain things like the sneak wasn't working quite as well. Yeah. I think they're going to try to have more variations off it. I think the fact that they think it might be banned has already made them work on it some.
It was actually 66.7%. I'm sorry.
And was that only on 3rd and 4th down?
No, this was with just
early
time
downs
they had
too?
0 to 1 yard to go.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that includes passing plays when it's like second and one.
Like second and one, okay.
Yeah,
which they don't do enough, by the way.
Yeah.
Like they often just try to get the first down, which is a little bit frustrating. I think it'll be a little bit better. Yeah. I also don't think the thing's going to get banned. So,
but even if it did, it's my position that they would have similar success on the quarterback sneak, with Jalen Hurts behind.
I agree.
Yeah.
Where did that rank, by the way? The 67%. Do you
tied
have
for
that?
9th. Yeah, tied for 9th.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it'll be better than that. Yeah.
Okay. Bo predict or Zach convince me?
Bo predict.
This is too football heavy for 2:53 into the show, but as someone who thinks a lot about the Vic Fangio defense, okay, predict in what ways schematically it's going to be a little bit different than it was last year.
That's a really good question. There's so much about like it takes 2 years for the defense but you don't usually have the first year be like historically good. He was so excited about Jahad Campbell, right? Yeah. Like I'm wondering if he would be that excited by just like an upgrade at a position as opposed to something that can make his scheme more flexible. Yeah, exactly. In what ways will it be different? I don't think there will be a major. I mean, we have such a long career of evidence that there are certain things that he doesn't really change. Will there be like more man coverage or something? And probably not, right? I don't know. Is this exciting enough? Like he might actually use Jahad Campbell the way he used Van Ginkel in Miami, where he actually takes an edge rusher off the field and has Jahad Campbell be the edge rusher.
Exactly.
Right. He never did that last year.
And then has, if Nakobe Dean is healthy or whoever, a different linebacker on the field.
Yes. Or even in dime, like maybe use Jahad Campbell so rather than take a linebacker off the field, take an edge rusher off the field.
Okay.
I don't know if that's particularly exciting.
It's interesting.
And then I don't know if we'll see how Drew Makuba does and what's going on with safety, but I don't think he's going to change the way he uses the safeties. And he'll keep Reed as the boundary safety, but that's something that might only excite me. So I'm not sure if that's like would be a major change, even if he did switch that up. But yeah, that's really all I can come up with. The one thing that I hope doesn't happen is Keely Ringo just isn't that good, and he feels the need that he has to hide him more. Because one of the things that we saw last year was he trusted both outside corners enough that when he did play a safety over the top of one of the corners, it wasn't because of who the corner was. It was because of the way the offense was lined up. It was because of the whether it was the boundary or the field side, whether he was playing cover 6, cover 8, those kinds of things. We've seen defensive coordinators on other teams have to hide corners by having a safety go over the top. And so that would be a change that I'll be tracking that for sure. When it is cover 6, which means you're playing quarters to one side, halves to the other, basically meaning that you're capping one of the corners with a safety, and then the other corner is essentially one-on-one. Is he going to trust Keely Ringo to be one-on-one, especially when he's to the boundary? Like that was a big part of last year's defense, was having the boundary corner play one-on-one and Reed Blankenship, who was the boundary safety, basically be able to focus attention to the other side of the field and take away crossers. That was one of the biggest schematic advantages the defense had. When Keely Ringo is to the boundary, will he still play that way? That's going to be a question.
And so this is intertwined with the Cooper DeJean question, right? And so take Cooper DeJean himself out of it, but schematically, would you rather have the complete faith in the corner on the outside and maybe not 100% faith on the nickel inside, or would you rather have, I know this nickel is going to be everywhere I need him to be and can provide the downhill heft that I need, and maybe I do have to cover for the corner on the outside?
Yeah, I think if the corner was like absolutely terrible, then you would want Cooper DeJean at corner and have like a replacement level nickel. Right. But I think Keely Ringo is going to be good enough that I'd rather have like Cooper DeJean, who might have been the best nickel in the NFL last year, which is crazy to say as a rookie, to stay in the nickel. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Zach's right that we'll see Cooper DeJean on the outside on base downs, but they play so little base. Right. It doesn't really matter. Like the Saints aren't on the schedule this year, So yeah, I just don't. I mean, like the Kubiak Saints, like a team that just plays. Right. Yeah. So
I wonder if there's a path to, like, it's not just base and nickel, but there are just certain times when Cooper DeJean is on the outside and there's a different nickel in, and then there are just times when maybe on third down he's inside or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, I see. Having like a designated backup
too
nickel,
much moving around,
like a Sidney Brown as
that's
like
what I was
a big nickel on early downs.
Yeah,
and having Cooper on the outside and Sidney Brown on the field.
But that goes against everything we saw last year, which is
field.
Just I want my guys and they all know where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and Sean Syed has said for years about Fangio that he really likes players having a role and keeping them in that role. Yeah. Like he doesn't like moving them around. So the Van Ginkel thing was almost an exception. So yeah, I don't think he would do that. He also doesn't seem to like Sidney Brown, so I don't know like who that nickel would be.
Right.
Is like Mac McWilliams going to be like good enough to be playing? I kind of doubt
Adoree
it.
Jackson moves inside, something like that.
Adoree Jackson, maybe, yeah. Though Adoree Jackson, I mean, I think I said this on the show. It's a little bit overstated. His nickel.
Oh yeah, sure. He does not.
He's like
much,
never played nickel, like
correct.
in a consistent way. Yeah, I mean, he's followed receivers inside. So when you look at the services and you look at his slot corner snaps, he has some.
Yeah.
But none of them are as the actual slot corner. It's just because like his guy went inside or it was corners over or something like that. He's not been a consistent nickel in the NFL.
All right. Well, we've got one more question to get to in Tic-Zach-Bo. It's coming from Zach, and it's coming to you in
overtime.
I feel like that was a little bit muted. I think that was not your like, do we have all of your enthusiasm today?
I hope this never ends, by the way, this overtime thing, which I still don't understand. It's so good. I love it.
Well, as we said, because we have a lot of people, including my grandfather, who watch us on Fast. Who watch us on TV.
Yeah, that's what you guys said last time. That does not explain the
because
the screaming of overtime, which is great. I'd rather not understand it. I mean, I'll just
Are you the one who left that comment?
I'm not capable of understanding. No, I think you did. I think you did great. I love it. I sincerely love it.
The one thing I would add to that is I am curious if there's a world in which they think that Sidney Brown and Andrew Makuba are better on the field together than PHLY Ringo, and like that's a combination. You know, if Sidney Brown in the slot against certain types of if PHLY Ringo is not good, or I just wonder if maybe they want 3 safeties on the field and DeGeno on the outside, or if there's a package where they do that. Yeah, and then the other. Well, we were discussing who that nickel would be. We talked about Jackson and McWilliams. I'm wondering if it could be Makuba or Brown. Yeah, and then also So,
I mean, having it be Makuba, assuming he's starting, would be moving a lot of guys around, right? Like, it seems very un-Fangio to move DeGene outside, move Makuba to the nickel, move Sidney Brown onto the field, like, just because it's first down. You know, that would go against what we saw last year. So I really wish they kept Isaiah Rodgers. Like, it's just bothering me as I look at the depth chart.
Yeah, he got paid.
Why not just pay him whatever it would have taken?
He's watching the exciting mics I saw on his Instagram.
Which you can watch on PHLY.
That's coming up right now, actually. It's debuting on the PHLY feed, the exciting mics episode, which you could see elsewhere. But if you want to support us on PHLY, you can watch it here and subscribe to support the good folks at PHLY, including Zach.
So this involves Fangio here. This is the convince me. The whole coaching staff has to leave. But you can keep one person. Are you keeping Nick Sirianni because head coaches are hard to find?
Oh, interesting.
Are you keeping Vic Fangio because he was such a difference maker at defensive coordinator? Are you keeping Jeff Stoutland because over 3 different head coaches here, he's proven that he can develop and that's a really hard spot to hit. So I think those are probably the 3 people you're talking about, unless
that's a really good question.
So the whole staff has to leave. But you're allowed to hold one guy.
Yeah.
It's like an expansion draft, and you protect one person.
This is Tyler Scudder erasure. I mean, but yeah. Fangio, Stoutland, or Sirianni, and what kind of
their role, and then
horizon?
You fill out the rest of.
What kind of horizon are we talking?
The same.
Whatever the horizon is.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I keep Fangio and he retires in 2 years, that's it.
Yeah. Fangio's not as old as
he's not that old.
He's in his 60s. Yeah.
Is he around the same age as Stoutland?
Oh, good question. Let me see what's
similar, right?
It is. You know what? This is a good framing for
Stout 63.
I saw Mina Kimes was doing like the ranking of the Eagles or the head coaches around the league, and then there's the argument about Sirianni and his winning percentage. Where does he rank? It is a good framing that in this question, I don't know any Eagles fan who's taking Nick over either Stout or Fangio.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Sirianni record thing is amazing. Like, and part of what makes it amazing is the fact that no one really thinks it has anything to do with him. It obviously has something to do with him.
We talked about it. I think he's he's the right coach for this team.
He
might not be the right coach for every team in the NFL.
He might not be the right coach for any other team in the NFL.
He is a very good head coach. Yeah, and there's no chance that anybody's taking him over Fangio or Stoutland.
I agree. Yeah. No, it's definitely not. My answer is definitely not Nick. If this were a Peckness migrate, I would be migrating him. I will probably go. It's so hard. It's been so long since we've had not Stoutland. You know, like I don't know if I just take him for granted how good the offensive line has been.
Vic Fangio has been a defensive coordinator for 4 decades, and he's been to 2 Super Bowls, right?
Right.
Nick Sirianni's been head coach for 4 years and has been to 2 Super Bowls. So. Like there's enough evidence of teams not being good with Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator. There's more evidence of teams being good with Nick Sirianni as their head coach.
Yeah, I think my answer is gonna be Stoutland.
I think it would be Stout too for me.
Yeah, with the reason that we know that Stoutland's presence makes the run game good, makes the offensive line good. We know how important those things are. we don't know. We also know from all kinds of history that defense is not sustainable, right? Whereas like good offensive line play is. So I'm gonna go Stout. How many gallons is that
so
thing,
funny?
Zach?
It's not gallons. It's 50 ounces. I drink 2 of these a day.
50 ounces.
It's good for your.
It's funny. It's funny to me because it seems very clear that you didn't want that on camera.
I did not. But
you waited until Deniz was talking.
Yeah.
You pulled it out from under the desk. You thought you were going to get a side little sip, only to find that it was a double shot, and you were on the whole time.
A side sip. It's
Sorry,
like
my
drinking
mouth
out of
is
a
getting
lake.
dry. I don't speak as clearly when my mouth is dry, so I had to. Yeah.
I'll go Stout first. Fangio
I think I would go
second.
Stout too, which is insane. Like to think about,
It's an
any
offensive
other
line
team
coach
that you wouldn't.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. But I think I probably would too. What about you, Zach?
I mean, I've seen Stout function with. This is the thing.
Like he has done this for 4 different coaches.
Yeah. So so I would probably go Stout with there too, because so if you take the so Nick has to fill out his whole coaching staff in this case, right?
With countless different offensive coordinators. Like the run game is just always.
And you see, like there are some really bad offensive lines out there that probably do have a lot to do with coaching. Like I think the delta between Stout and the median offensive line coach is far greater than the delta between Nick and the median head
That's
coach.
exactly my point. Is that so? In this example, you're taking you're taking the rest of the staff away, right? And so in the case of Stout, like I know he could function with that. If you just have Sirianni, so if you put a replacement level coach in with the rest of the staff and this roster, I think Sirianni's a really good coach. I still think that team is very competitive, right? Now, I don't know what the offensive line would be like with the drop off from Stout. In Fangio's case, and this is not to take anything away from Fangio, was brilliant last year. They had the #1 defense, but as I said, there's 4 decades where like Vic Fangio hasn't been a miracle worker. I think you framed it well when they hired him. He raises the floor more than he raises the ceiling in 39 years before this.
Now, I do think that if you were doing a 1-year replacement, I think you would rather have Vic this year than Stoutland this year, because I think that
the guys already learned everything.
The guys have already learned.
It's like
everything.
veterans,
and it is a very good offensive line right now.
Yeah,
and also I think the defensive personnel is particularly catered to Vic in a way, whereas like if you just brought in a random defensive coordinator, the pieces might not fit as well. But I think over the next 5 years, as you're probably gonna have to turn over the offensive line anyway, you want to make sure that Stout is here. And I also think in this hypothetical, for all the reasons that you have written about, you can probably trust the Jeffrey Lurie head coach hiring process to not get stuck with a dud.
Sure. You're right. And there's a reason why they've replaced head coaches and not offensive line coaches since 2013, right? They clearly... And
defensive coordinators.
Yeah. And there have been times when there have been people that they've liked, whether it's head coaching candidates or offensive coordinator candidates, and like it was put to them, you're keeping Jeff Stoutland here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Lurie hired 2 guys that no one thought should have been the hire, and they both won the Super Bowl. I mean, he'll find another guy,
which probably says something about the way we in the media assess coaching candidates too.
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
You look at someone's rankings on offense and rankings on defense and say there's so much more that goes into the job, which I think both demonstrated.
And the organization-centric nature of the team, right? Like, I mean, one of the biggest criticisms of Doug Peterson was that, like, well, he's not actually in charge. Like, it's an organization-centric team. And I've never really, like, why would I care about that as a fan? You know, like what's wrong with it being organization-centric if they do a good job? Like, if they put the coach in a position to win, then, I don't really care if it's not, Nick Sirianni as a solo act, winning these games. Like, as a fan, I just want the team to win. So,
I mean, I think the best organization. What's that?
That was a good one.
Yeah, I think the best organization in professional sports right now is the Los Angeles Dodgers, and like they have a manager who's outstanding at managing his clubhouse, at dealing with that. They have someone who runs baseball operations, and Andrew Friedman, who's elite at that. And I agree with you, is that you don't need the omnipotent head coach to be a successful organization.
Julio, how is the chat coming down? Are they going stout as well?
Between Fangio and Stout? One of the things about offensive line, too, is, I think you would both agree, right? It's the most important position coach, like in terms of both the scheme involved and the technique involved that you need to coach on offensive line.
I think so.
Compared to any of the other positions.
Also just, mathematically, you're coaching 5 guys.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah. But I think maybe the secondary would be the closest to that, but the Eagles have so many different secondary coaches.
I don't think there's any doubt that it's offensive line coach.
Yeah.
So, right. So what you're saying, it's not as crazy as saying a position coach over a coordinator and head coach.
Yeah.
It's probably at worst, the 4th most important coach on the team.
And he's the run game coordinator for the team that runs the ball more often than any other team. That matters too. So
okay. All right, good stuff. That was a good one, Zach.
Thank you.
You brought it.
Good job by both of you guys. It was good.
I was leaving the barbershop when you texted about it, and then I was like, all right, I got to come up with
People are liking the Carolina blue.
You know what? This was actually a late ad. I was in shorts and t-shirt. I was in shorts and t-shirts. No, and we have a David Letterman-esque situation in our studio. It is cold in here.
It is cold. Why is it so cold?
I don't know. Our air conditioning works in this building, that's for sure. And so I was like, you know what? I should actually I should change quickly. And then I don't know if you noticed this. When I got out of the car today, I realized the sweatshirt was on inside out. And so
did not notice.
Yeah, so I ran to the bathroom once I got here to flip it. To flip it, I literally.
Wait, are you not wearing a shirt underneath?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I would not wear a shirt like that without.
Really?
Yeah. I just want to be comfortable. It's not like
I never wear a t-shirt under
really
under these hoodies. Yeah.
Huh. I don't think I ever have my bottom layer not be short sleeved.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of.
That's too much bulk, I feel like.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well,
I already have so much bulk, it doesn't really matter.
These types of hoodies, I think it makes sense. Yeah, it is. It's a little bit more clingy.
Exactly.
And so, if you have a shirt on underneath, it's not quite as comfortable. But I feel like, for instance, like the PHLY hoodies that we have that are a little bit warmer, a little thicker. You would wear a shirt.
I would wear a t-shirt under those.
Yeah,
exactly. It's this material that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it now. I think the main reason is to have the flexibility to turn to short sleeve if I go somewhere and the heat's on too high.
But that's the appeal of the light hoodie.
I feel
like the light hoodie is one of the real clothing come ups of the past 5 years.
It's become a staple for me, honestly. Even with shorts, I go hoodie often. If I wanted that versatility, I would do what Bo's doing. I do the zip up. If I'm considering going with the t-shirt, I always do the zip up. But the hoodie, it's like you're committed to it. And you just roll the sleeves up, if
like you're getting to work.
Yeah. But this is moisture wicking.
You need that.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
Is that one of those buzzwords that's always going to catch your attention?
Moisture wicking.
Yeah.
It's not a buzzword. It's
it's
it wicks moisture.
Not a buzzword.
It wicks moisture. It's the material wicks moisture. If you have just 100% cotton sweatshirt, it's not wicking moisture that way.
Sure. Yeah, moisture wicking is huge. More for other clothing than hoodies, I think. But yes.
What clothing would that be?
Boxers.
Boxer briefs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the summer, oh my God, life changing.
Well, that's why. If you don't have a moisture wicking pair of boxers, you're definitely going to need some Mando.
There you go.
There you go.
Yes,
no doubt about that. All right, I guess that's all we got. Fun week of episodes here on PHLY. Deniz here for so much of it. That was nice. We will talk to you next week. Back on Monday, 2:00. Until then, enjoy your weekend. For all of us here, we will talk to you later. Thank you, Julia, for making it happen. And Deniz for coming in. And Zach for those beautiful blue eyes. We'll talk to you later. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.